Do you have a hat press and you're looking for a little inspiration on what you might press with it? Or maybe you're looking to purchase a hat press, but you're not sure which one's right for you. In today's video, we're going to press 3 different hats with 3 different types of materials, and I'm going to use this new HTV Ront auto hat press. On one hat, I'm going to use a direct-to-film transfer. On another hat, I have 2 layers of glitter HTV, and on the third hat, I'm going to press rhinestones. Here's a closer look at the press, and here's what I received with the press. With the press, you already have one of the platens installed, and you receive a second one. You receive a set of heat-resistant gloves, and then you have this envelope, and there's a few things in there. You get a quick start guide. You get a sheet that you can scan 3 different things. One of them is to join their community, one is to download their app if you want to use it for your designs, and one gives you more detailed instructions. Now, I didn't even scan that one yet because I thought the quick start guide and just me playing around with it was enough. You receive your warranty, and then this one just kind of states HTV Ront's mission. Like other HTV Ront things that I've received, this was packaged very well. Now right now it's not plugged in. Let's go ahead and take this little screen cover off. It's just a clear piece of film to protect the screen. It's not plugged in right now, but let me show you what happens when you plug it in. When you plug it in, the screen comes on, and then you have the little power button. So if I press that power button, then I have, right now it's in parameter A, or program A. If I press this again, I can move it to program B. So you can have up to 2 pre-stored programs for the favorite things that you press. So let's go back to A, and I want that to be set to 350 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and press right here. And then I'm going to press this plus sign until it gets up to 350 degrees. And if you do a long press, it just takes off. And I went too far. Let's go back down. Okay, now I want to change the time to 15 seconds. These are the settings that I use for rhinestones. So we're going to start with a rhinestone hat. Now I just need to let that heat up, and you can see this is real time. That heats up pretty quickly. Now while that's heating up, let me show you what I found out about the little platens. So you probably noticed when I turned it on that this platen came down. That allows you to move this back. If you want to take the platen out, you simply pull up on it. You have these 2 little things here, and they fit into some holes that are on the top. So here's one of the platens, and then if you want to put the other one in, you just press it down like that. Now let me show you the difference in the 2 platens. I would probably always use this unless it's a little too tall and you have something on the hat that's going to keep the pressure from being its best. So here's the 2 differences. This platen is a little taller, and this platen is actually the width of the press that you see on top. I'll show you that here in a minute. This platen is a little shorter, and it extends beyond the heat source. Let me show you that. If I press right here, the platen goes up, and notice how there's extra room on each side. So what I wouldn't want you to do is simply measure these bottom platens of the heat press and think that that's the size that you can press. What I want to show you now is this one really is pretty much the size of the heat platen. So if I press this down, you can see that the sides pretty well line up. Now, the bottom platen is a little bit narrower than that top part. So what I would measure is, and I'll do it here in just a minute, the height of this and the width of that, and that's your max that you can make for your design. The other thing is, notice how the corners are cut off, so your design really can't come all the way down here. All right, let's go ahead and measure this. So if I measure, it's 6 1/4 inches, which I would limit it to 6 inches. And really for a hat, that's awfully big anyway. And then the height of this is about 3 1/8 inch. So I would limit my design to 3 inches tall and 6 inches wide. All right, let me go ahead and put this back on top. Let's put this up. Let me go ahead and push that together so I make sure this is really good and tight. All right, now let's get my hat ready. Now that the press is up to temperature, let's go ahead and clean the front of our hat. And this is something I want to do whether I'm using rhinestones, HTV, DTF, or anything else. We'll go ahead and press this back. And there is something on this machine that I really appreciate, and that is how this lever works. So this lever raises this metal piece here. That's going to help you hold your hat in place and stretch it out. I love the fact that when you push this down, the lever stays up, or the metal piece stays up. On my other hat presses, you have to hold this down while you're trying to get your hat situated. Now, if you want to check and make sure your design isn't too large, you can place it on top of this pad right here. So we are going to pull this little sweat brim out, place our hat on top, and then I can go ahead and let this lever come down. Now I really think I need to change the view of the camera, so give me a minute to do that. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this adjusted, and then I'll tilt it forward so you can see what it looks like. I see a little bit of stuff on there. Let's go ahead and clean that off again. And I'm going to tilt this up so you can see it. Now there are suction cups under here, so it's a little hard to tilt up, but the suction cups are a good thing. All right, hopefully you can see that is nice and smooth. I really like how that's holding it down. Now we're going to go ahead and we'll take our rhinestone transfer. It's this cute little bear. Now I feel like the seam on the hat's going a little bit sideways. So let me readjust this. All right, that looks good. Go ahead and put the bear down. And then after I do that, it's kind of hard for you to see, but I want to do a reality check and make sure that the bear is actually on top of this press part. Now let me straighten it up just a little bit. I'm going to try to pull this hat back just a little bit more. Then you pull this back into place. And now I press this right here. Now with these rhinestones, these are called hot fix rhinestones. They are a hot peel. So let's go ahead and peel the sheet off the top. That looks so good. I'll show you in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and repress just for about 5 seconds. Now to remove the hat, I can just pull this back and then lift this lever and take my hat off. And look at that. That's beautiful. That did a great job. All right, let's do our second hat. For my second hat, I'll press a DTF transfer. So I need to change that temperature from 350 to 325. So I'm going to press this temperature button and just use these down arrows. That looks good. So now I'm going to let the temperature adjust. It's going to have to drop from 350 to 325. As soon as it does, we'll press that hat. Now that that's at the right temperature, we'll go ahead and clean the front of this hat. I'm going to pull the little sweat brim out, and then I'm just going to put it over this bottom platen. I'm not sure that's called a platen, but this base. The base that the heat platen rests on. Now I can put the hat under the piece of metal that's going to help stretch it out. Now let's get this adjusted just a little bit better. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So I'll go ahead and pull up the lever, and that stretches this out nicely. I'm going to place my design on, trying to get it fairly centered. Let me go ahead and fold it and put a little crease in the top and bottom of it, and then I'll have that crease on the seam of the hat. All right, let's make sure that it's on the press. It is. I think that looks good. So now we're going to put a couple of pieces of heat-resistant tape on it just to hold it in place. Now that I have it taped down, let me make sure it looks straight. I think it's a little off. Let me pull this side up just a tiny bit. Now I can go ahead and pull this back forward, and I'm going to watch over here and make sure it really is getting pressed. So I'll press the button on the front. Good, that is all getting covered by the heat platen. Now this is actually a cool peel. So I'm going to either have to take this off and let it cool down. It would cool down more quickly. Or I'm going to leave it here, and it's going to take longer to cool down because this little pad is holding some heat. So once this film is cooled off, I'll be back. We'll peel it off and we'll do a second press. Now that doesn't feel too hot. Let me go ahead and try a corner and see how it goes. That is peeling off just beautifully. With DTF, I like to do a second press using parchment paper. It really helps get your DTF down into the fibers of the hat. That feels good though. That feels like it feels on a shirt when I use it on a different press. All right, we're going to press this for 15 more seconds. All right, we'll push that back, push the lever up, and let's see what it looks like. It looks great. That looks very good. And it feels good as well. All right, time for our third hat. With this hat, we're using some glitter HTV, and I'm going to turn this down to 320 degrees. But I will leave it on 15 seconds. This design is 2 layers, and it says Salty Vibes. I love brown and pink together. I think these colors will look really, really nice. So once again, I pull that sweatband out. Now I like to have the brim as close to the pad as I can, so I'm just kind of pulling on the back of this. And I think that looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and put the hat around that metal piece, and then we'll go ahead and let that go back down so it stretches it into place. Now I can see I need to adjust this a little bit, so give me just a minute. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and clean it. And you know, one step that I missed on the other hats that I really should have done is I should have preheated the hat. Really, with anything you're putting on hats or shirts, anything else, you want to preheat to remove that moisture. So let's go ahead and heat this for 15 seconds. This time I think I'm going to turn this just a little bit so you can see it from the side. I think that'll be better. Now I can see where I preheated, so I can use that as my guide. We'll put down the word salty. Now it's sticking down by itself. I could put some heat resistant tape down to hold in place, but I don't think I need to. Oh, maybe I do. I also want to find the center. Okay, I think that's close enough. I want to press and make sure that that really is on the pad, and it barely is. So let's move it up just a little bit. You need to have good pressure on every piece of your HTV or whatever you're putting on. Okay, that feels better. We're going to pull this up into place and we'll push that start button. Now I'm not sure if this is a hot peel or a cold peel. Ooh, that was hot. Let me see what happens if I try to peel this up. Okay, apparently that's a hot peel. Let's go ahead and put the second layer down. You do not want to layer glitter on glitter, and actually that should come down just a little bit. All right, hopefully I have that placed well. We'll tape it down. And I want to try to keep my tape pretty much off the glitter that's already on there, so I'm just going to put a little bit of tape right up here. All right, let's pull this back up and we'll do this last press. One other thing that I really like about this is it goes straight up and down. So sometimes with a hat press, your bottom pad is kind of slanted. I really like how this goes straight up and down. This is a different brand of glitter HTV, so I'm not sure if it's going to be a hot peel, but it looks like it is. Let's go ahead and do one more press with this parchment paper to make sure that it's really pressed down into the fabric. And I'm not going to go those full 15 seconds, so I'll press the green button and it lifts. So you don't have to wait for the full cycle to go through. That is so cute. Look at that. And that is really pressed into the fabric nicely. Let me give you a close-up of all three hats. Here's the first hat that I did, the rhinestones. That is very pretty, very blingy. That looks so good. Now the second hat was the direct-to-film transfer. That looks good as well, and it is pressed into the fabric very, very nicely. In fact, look at that center seam. See how that DTF was pressed down into the seam of the hat? I did a nice job on that. And then our last hat, Salty Vibes, where I used two colors of HTV, glitter HTV. That looks so nice as well. So hopefully the video today gave you some inspiration that you can use rhinestones, DTF, glitter HTV. You could even use sublimation on hats. You just have to make sure if you're using sublimation that it's a light colored polyester hat. Also, if you don't have a hat press yet, or maybe you have one but you really don't like how it performs, I really like this HTV Ront Auto Hat Press. There is nothing about it that I don't like, and I do like how it lifts straight up and down, and I really love how when you push that lever down, that metal piece stays into place and you actually have two hands to work with. That is not the case on my other hat presses. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them in the comment section below. Also, if you're interested in the press, I do have a link to it in the video description below. Now that's an affiliate link, so if you use that, thank you so much. Lastly, check out the video description for my discount code. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see you in my next video.